All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's workshop. I just want to get some comments on the chat box to confirm that you can hear me. Please just you could drop an emoji, you could just say hi. All right, thank you so much, Toyin. Thank you so much, Akin. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you so much all for joining. For some of us, I believe is our first time of joining this session. Others, I believe, is most of their times of joining the session. For anyone you fall into, I would like to welcome you to today's Business Leadership Development Program. And of course, today we have an interesting session with the topic resilient supply chain leadership strategies for disruption management. So some of us that are not in the supply chain space, they might be like, oh, is this topic really for me? Is it not for me? Is it not only for people in the logistics space? But trust me, at the course of this program, you get to see that is also related to you. So just stay glued, if possible, get your books and your writing materials down. I believe Dr. Sylvester is actually is actually ready for us today. So we also will be having Mr. Ini Akpabio, who will be moderating the session for us. So before we start, just some ground rules. Let's try to remain mute. And also, if you like to put your cameras on, let's try to be in a professional background or in a professional space. This meeting is being live streamed, and you wouldn't want to see yourself in any of our social pages saying in a scattered environment. So please, let's take note of that. And of course, please remain mute. During the question and answer session, you could actually drop your question on the chat box, or you could raise up your hand. And again, I can see some people that are logging in with iPhone 15 Pro Max. Yes, we know you are rich. Please help us to actually rename your device. This will help us to know that to know your name, and of course to understand that you participated in the event. For some people that would like to get the recording and slides, so we'll know who we are sending it to. So it would be nice you rename your device for us. So I'll just encourage you as well to pay attention and enjoy the rest of the session. So right now, I'll be handing over to Mr. Ini. Mr. Ini, hope you are prepared for us today. You can take over the floor. Thank you so much.
Yes, I am. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Young Business School and Business Leadership Development Program with the
Sorry,
topic.
Mr. Ini, your voice is not too clear.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
let me take my headset. Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Okay, all right, I'll take that again, please. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Young Business School Nigeria Business Leadership Development Program with the topic resilient supply chain leadership strategies for disruption management. My name is Ini Akpabio. I'm Chief Executive Officer at Growstack Limited, and it's my pleasure to moderate today's event, which brings top personalities from prestigious industries to run business school. I am excited about this program. Today we have our special guest, Dr. Sylvester Aighobahi, who will be speaking to us on the topic resilient supply chain leadership strategies for disruption management. I'll take a brief bio of Dr. Sylvester. Sylvester Aighobahi is an accomplished supply chain director with a comprehensive background in demand and supply planning, logistics, inventory management, procurement, and project management. Currently serving as a global supply chain manager Zowasel, Sylvester brings over 2 decades of experience in end-to-end supply chain management. His career spans significant roles at leading companies such as American Tobacco, Henkel, and Grand Seal USA, where he had led supply chain operations and strategy across West Africa. Sylvester's expertise includes production planning, logistics, customer service, and crisis management, making him a well-rounded professional in the field. Academically, Sylvester has a BBA in strategic management from the Eurasian Management and Administration School, Emma's Business School. He also holds a master's degree in procurement, logistics, and supply chain management, global supply chain management, beg your pardon, from the University of Stanford. Known for his proactive and results-driven approach, Sylvester's contribution has consistently driven operational excellence and strategic growth. His leadership style, marked by enthusiasm and dedication, has inspired teams and delivered outstanding results throughout his career. Ladies and gentlemen, please do welcome with me Dr. Sylvester as he takes over the mic. Dr. Sylvester, we are eager to hear your insights on the topic resilient supply chain leadership strategies for disruption management. Please take the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Ini Akpabio, for the kind words, and also to Peace and the entire management of Rome Business School, of which I'm also a part of. I'm a faculty in Rome Business School. So some of the students in logistics and supply chain management might be familiar with my ugly face and name. Once again, I welcome all of you to this meeting. Like I always say in most of my classes, we are all co-learners. So at the end of the day, I also expect to see different perspective and different contribution coming from members of the team. So the topic I'll be looking at today, like Ini said, is a resilient supply chain leadership strategy for disruption management. So, but I want to take us back to the very beginning. What is supply chain? For those that are not in the supply chain background. And I like keeping things quite very simple. Supply chain is a journey of interconnected processes whereby we are able to convert raw materials into product and services. So all of us interact with supply chain, a various supply chain. Be it food supply chain, you eat rice at home. So that rice you are eating started from a seed. The seed has to pass through the farm, pass through the mill, then you bought it from the market shop, then you have to cook before it gets to the table. So all of these processes is what we call supply chain. To summarize, supply chain is about value creation coming from a supplier being transformed by an intermediate party that you call a producer, then being consumed by what you call customers. So all of us interact with supply chain. So just to try to show this, a typical example of e-commerce, when you go to Temu, you go to Amazon, you go to Walmart. Once you place your process orders, those process orders, as you are placing your orders, you also pay via the bank system. These orders are processed via logistics from the warehouses, they are shipped until it gets to you as a customer. So if you did enjoy the experience, you do what we call repeat purchase. So this is a classical example of a supply chain. That's what e-commerce supply chain. Then I take you to manufacturing. Same concept, but slightly different because here you look at input raw materials. That's material that is in its raw form. Take, for example, you want to buy bread, but those bread you have to get it from wheat. Probably the wheat is coming from somewhere in Ukraine or somewhere in Jigawa State in Nigeria. So the suppliers have to supply to the manufacturers various input materials that is then processed and you pass on to the distributor, from the distributor to the retailer. And that retailer may be that last kiosk man you have on your nearby street, Buku Mat, where you pick up a bread and then it ends up on your dining table. So that's a classical example of a manufacturing supply chain. Okay, now that we know what a supply chain is, let's go to the topic of resilience. So when you hear about resilience or resiliency in supply chain, what comes to your mind? I would like to show this in a pictorial manner using just a spring. So when you hear about resilience, I want to use the analogy of a spring, basically. A spring, sometimes you compress it, sometimes you stretch it. Is that spring strong enough to withstand tension? Is it rugged enough to return back to its former state after being stretched or being compressed? That's what resilience in supply chain is all about, basically. Is the ability for you to absorb disruptions, absorb shock, or any disruption, or any interaction that deviate from your normal operational way of working. That is resilience in supply chain. So let's go to some of the strengths that we see in our supply chain. But before that, I want to take you to key economic indicators that country track from month to month. And why do they track this? It's called the composite PMI. They track it just to see whether the economy is growing or not, because these have implications. If the economy is growing, it means that you have more disposable income. People are willing to buy more things, so there will be more demand for materials. And this has a way of affecting the forces of demand and supply. These have a way of deciding what the amount of inventory I need to hold to be able to satisfy my customer demand, because inventory is what decouples demand from supply. What are the key strengths we have in our supply chain? Take note of these key elements. You have materials, be it internet services, be it raw materials in the market. If you are not able to control the price of these elements, you are going to find it very difficult to achieve competitive advantage, because there's a clear link between your strategic advantage, competitive advantage, and your supply chain strategy. Then we come to this gentleman they call logistics. If the freight price is not there, it's not reasonable, or you can't even afford to get logistics to move the product to the customers, you have a problem. Then you also have labor. You have the workers that have the necessary skill sets. Now we are talking of AI. Is your company equipped with people that can work with AI? Are they well equipped with digital skills? So if you have any of these, it causes a strain in your overall supply chain. So what do we mean when we say resilient supply chain? It means that you have to have enough redundancy within your supply chain processes to withstand any shock that comes across the supply chain. So let me take you to what we have seen in time past. This is looking at global inflation data, and just to show the correlation with supply chain resilience. As I mentioned before, that economic indicators have a way of impacting on your supply chain resilience. You see, at various times from the year 2000, you see inflation goes up, it comes down. It goes up, it comes down. But I want to focus on two main global crises that have impacted on the world. That's the global financial crisis that happened in the year 2008. And then COVID and the what we call Ukraine-Russia crisis, oftentimes called geopolitics. You see, inflation skyrocketed. Why? Because we are not able to manage those three elements I mentioned earlier on. Because there were disruptions, material prices went up. Because there was disruption, material prices for oil went up, and that affected global inflation. But global supply chain responded. When they responded, that's why you see this chart has started going down post-COVID. They responded. And why were they able to respond? Because they had resilience and risk management strategies configured into their supply chain operations. So as we move in the course of this workshop, we'll now be looking at how organizations have been able to use various strategy and risk management techniques to mitigate the impact of disruption. Okay, just so done. Just to also buttress that one of the techniques that most organizations use in combating disruption is integrated supply chain planning. Because when you integrate all your processes, you're able to see easily what's going wrong with the chain. Then you also need technology. With technology, you're able to combat inflation. Company can see around corners with their alert management system and put proper risk management processes and contingency plans in place to combat any disruption that affects your supply chain. So how does supply chain resilience work? Like I mentioned earlier on, you synchronize and integrate all your processes, leverage on data, and have a visibility of what's happening across your supply chain. As such, you are better informed and I can take better decisions proactively. Then you also need to spread your risk. Try and have more suppliers. Then finally, build in redundancy into your systems. By redundancy, I mean you need to build extra capacity. This comes at a cost, but that's the trade-off. Those are the trade-offs you need to take. If I invest on more capacity, when I have a machine breakdown, I have alternate capacity to fall back to. If I have inventory buffers, I have inventory to cater for me to continue to maintain ideal customer service levels to my customers, despite the fact that there is disruption within the supply chain. COVID is a living example. Any small issue you have in one part of the world can affect the entire global supply chain. And that's what COVID has taught us. And some companies are at a dilemma. Should we go back to our normal levels of how we are operating before COVID? Because post-COVID, a lot of companies took a lot of decisions to improve their supply chain resilience by building in strong buffers, by bringing strong capabilities, by investing more in technology. But these things cost money. Should the world continue to build resilience in their supply chain, or they should go back to previous practice or previous school of thought that believe that it was better for you to operate a lean supply chain? Because by lean, it means that you are getting more from less. So that dilemma is there. But should we go ahead and go back to how we were pre-COVID? But let's look at events that are currently shaping the world. So there's this term, VUCA. VUCA means basically volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's not a new term. This term was coined by US military to look at different scenarios and plan for contingency around it. But this term became very, very popular post 9/11 and post-COVID. So, but what some leaders and school of thought are doing basically is for each of these elements, they've also had more like a complementary code to counteract each of these elements. First is volatility. When you have volatility, stick with your vision. Then it's uncertainty. Where you have uncertainty, try to understand the problem in piecemeal. Then when you are operating under a very complex environment, try and remain calm and see clarity of what each of these complexities actually mean. Then where you have an ambiguous system, probably the system you are using, they are not standardized, regulatory frameworks are not clear. So you need to build agility in your supply chain to respond, basically. So what was very popular before now was the term VUCA. But if you look at current happenings in the world, you see that post-COVID, there have been a lot of VUCA everywhere post-COVID. These are just typical example of supply disruptions that the world has been faced with post-COVID. China energy crisis, Russia-Ukraine war, massive flooding, European gas crisis, the Israel-Hamas war, Suez Canal. Then you have a new technology. This is what called disruptive technology. Now you also have ChatGPT. You have massive protests, US port congestion. So just to name a few. So in a nutshell, COVID came and it was like a shock, a wake-up call to the whole world. But post-COVID, disruption is now like BAU. When I mean BAU, it's not like business as usual. So as supply chain professionals, the sad news is that disruption has come to stay, but the good news is that we have opportunity to choose how we want to react to all of those disruptions. Okay, so in a nutshell, to summarize, when you look at all of the disruption I've shared, we can come to one conclusion, because they will tell you the world is flat, we are running a global supply chain, but the reality today is that global supply chain is broken. So does that mean that we keep doing things the way we're doing things? No, we have to have a different approach to how we do things, because disruption is causing a lot of tension that is impacting on operations across almost every part of the globe. So, and the impact of that, I tried to show this, just looking at the impact of supply chain disruptions globally, is averaging around 3 to 5% of annual revenue for when they conducted this survey that was conducted by FT Longitude, that this is the percentage of revenue loss due to just supply chain disruptions alone. So just to buttress the fact that disruption is like living in our midst and it has come to stay. Okay, what do we do? So we now need to roll our sleeve and see how do we strengthen and build resilience in our supply chain, and how much resilience is necessary. To answer all of those questions, each supply chain needs to ask himself this question: what's my risk appetite? What's the situation of my core partners? Because it's not just enough for you to look at your supply chain alone. What if my supplier has an issue? Do I have a backup supplier? Do I know their contingency plan? You also have to decide what you are protecting, what are the trade-off decisions you need to make, and what are the funding decisions. Then you also have to look at things that have to do with block incentives and tariff, basically. So this is just looking at it in summary. Supply chain appetite, leadership partner with enterprise risk management to understand variables like product, current market position, and profit margin. Your partners, you have to look at their weakness and their vulnerabilities and see how you can have a proper business continuity planning in place. So all of this boils down to one thing. For you to build resilience, it requires fund. And most CFO, they don't like this topic. I'm talking from practical experience, because it's like I tying down money for nothing. But it's a trade-off you need to make, because when you have a disruption, like you saw during COVID, companies that were ready, the disruption became a competitive advantage. But companies that were not ready, some of them could not sell for 3 months or 4 months. So those are some of the trade-offs decisions you have to take and make, basically. So this is just a simulation model I have here, basically. This is from McKinsey, looking at a fictional company, looking at EBIT, earning before income tax, basically. Typically, it was 25.3 million euros. But what this company did, basically, is when we have a 30-day shock, with some of these assumptions you have at the right-hand side. Scenario 1, full shutdown, no raw material, no disruption. This is the impact it will have on my EBIT. So they look at different scenarios. So why it's good to have this kind of analysis being done? It looks like stupidity, because when I am in when I was heading crisis management, there's what we call contingency plan testing. Because when you do your risk mapping of your supply chain, when you know the vulnerabilities, you do your risk mapping, you need to look at the financials involved for you to prepare a response. And then based on that, you choose what is the most appropriate response for you to prepare, basically. So it's good for you to prepare this plan ahead. So whenever you have this plan well mapped out, whenever you have any issues, you can just trigger the scenarios based on the one that will be most optimal to manage your customers and also ensure you return to profits. Okay, having looked at all of those, but there are still underlying issues, what I would call a supply chain resilience gap. And what's causing this is based on the current business landscape. It's more fluid. Things are not firm like before. The consumers are becoming quite very sensitive. They want personalization, they want this. Then we also have the issue of climate change. Then, like I mentioned earlier on, geopolitics is ravaging supply chain all over the world. There's war in Ukraine. The Middle East war is there. Then the last elephant in the room is tariff. Donald Trump has come with tariff. And these are all disruptive forces that is testing businesses, stretching supply chain to never seen before levels. So it's quite very imperative that building resilience, building redundancies within your supply chain is no longer an option, but it's a necessity. Okay, I mentioned earlier on about ChatGPT. So we are familiar with VUCA, but now there's a new technology called VUCAD. There's a D added to it. So I just want to walk you through VUCAD basically. The new thing that they've added is disruptive forces. And what are disruptive forces? They are things that change the rules of the game, just the way you have a groove now coming on board. You're talking about 5G, 6G. So disruptive tendency, they change the rules of the game. They create new rules when they come into new markets. Just what happened like iPhone, and it's oftentimes triggered by innovation. So that's the new element they've added to VUCA D. So let's walk through it. Volatility, that's just for those that are not in supply chain. I try to make this simple. Rapid and unpredictable changes that disrupt stability and continuity. Example is market fluctuations, sudden technology breakthroughs. Implications, leaders must remain agile, adaptable, and ready to respond swiftly to change. If not, you become another Nokia 3310. Authenticity. One of the things we don't like in supply chain and supply chain professionals, and that's why we have inventory. In a perfect world where demand is equal to supply, there will be no inventory. What key supply chain professionals are weak is how do we minimize the level of uncertainty we have in our supply chain. That's why you talk about confidence level in your forecasts. Lack of predictability in events and outcome due to insufficient or clear information. So example, you have geopolitical stability, economic uncertainty. This affects us a lot in Africa. That's why investors are very reluctant to come to this part of the world, because the government can just wake up tomorrow and tell you that we have increased the import tariffs from the ports. Okay? So what are the implications for us as leaders? We must develop resilience and decision-making skills to navigate ambiguity and make informed choices. Sorry, there's one that missed. Sorry, complex, okay? The C. This multifaceted and interconnected nature of challenges with many influencing factors. Example, global supply chain intricacies, diverse workforce dynamics, and interdependent markets. Implications, here you need system thinking. You look at things as a whole, and the ability to manage diverse and interconnected variables effectively. This is quite very common when you're running global supply chain, because you are dealing with a lot of entities. If you know the amount of entities involved, before you get the iPhone you are using, they get the battery from somewhere in Congo, probably some of the semiconductors from somewhere in Asia. Maybe they are assembled in China. Now most of them are moving to Vietnam and co. And before it gets to US, other parts of the world. So these are the complexities you have to deal with. It's quite complex. It's a complex chain. Okay. Ambiguous situations with unclear meanings or outcomes, making interpretation and strategy formulation difficult. Examples: emerging markets with undefined rules or disruptive technologies with certain impacts. Sometimes even regulations. Even sometimes might be your BO and your bill of material, what you use for your production. It might also be your process flow. It might be unclear communication. Sometimes we don't communicate well. There's what we call the cost of communication error. Okay. What do leaders need here? Leaders must cultivate creativity, innovative thinking, and the capacity to act decisively in unclear scenarios. Disruptive, the constant presence of innovation. They'll tell you either you innovate or you die. And the story that challenges existing norms. That's one thing about disruption. It replaces the existing norm, changes the whole rules of the game. So the big example we have is digital transformation, industry convergence, and new competitors from unexpected sectors. Implications: leaders must embrace disruption as an opportunity for innovation and foster a culture of continuous innovation. Okay. Why VUCAD matters for leadership development? Okay. First, we look at these leadership skills that we need to grasp to cope, to be able to manage the current VUCA that is plaguing our world today. First, you have to anticipate and adapt. You have to be ahead of the curve, recognize trends, and pivot strategies as needed, not being reactive. Think critically and strategically. Approach challenges with long-term and holistic perspectives. Then inspire and empower. Motivate teams to remain engaged, innovative, and productive amid chaos. This is quite very important in a crisis situation. That's why most of the people that you select to be your crisis leadership team, one of the things training they will give you is that you have to be calm. Even if there's a bomb blast today in your building, office building, you have to be calm. That's how you can. Then you have to inspire others, okay? For them to come together and to see how do we chart a new course, how do we come out of this current situation, and what do we do? Embrace change as growth. Treat disruption as a chance to innovate and improve organizational resilience. Then communicate effectively. Foster clarity and alignment despite ambiguity and complexity. Okay. The next topic is leadership strategies for VUCA environment. One, I mentioned this before, agility. Your supply chain have to be nimble, not cast in stone. You have to be very flexible. As things change, you react to changes quickly, almost same day or next day. Okay. Resilience, develop mental and organizational for you to thrive in adversity. This is more like a mindset. It's a cultural change you have to build within your organization and your supply chain teams. Collaboration, you cannot take away the role of collaboration and integration. Leverage disparate perspectives to solve multifaceted challenges. Then we say 3L, lifelong learning, continuous learning. Stay updated on trends and technology to stay ahead of disruption. Then empathy and emotional intelligence. Lead with understanding to navigate uncertain ambiguity effectively. Okay. So building resilience in a world of constant disruption, what are the future directions? One of the things I would just want to inform you, it's not going to get better. The disruption have come here to stay. Like I mentioned earlier on, trade tariffs, geopolitics, innovation, are all things that are reshaping global supply chain. So the power of scenario planning and early risk visibility is quite very important. We call it supply chain alert management system. So if you know something is going to go wrong early, and you have clear dashboard that are what we call threshold, that if I'm clearing things from the ports, normally 10 days, start moving to 30 days, you start ringing an alarm bell that you need to change your inventory duration, okay? Leverage on data and digitalization. You have to try and use ERP to connect your supply chain and that of your supply chain partners so that you can see things in real time. There are no blind spots in your supply chain. Even if something is going wrong with your supply, you can see that it go, and then you can make quick and faster decisions. Then build resilience. See resilience. Resilience basically is investing money in capabilities, capacity, and inventory, and people and personnel. And that money you are investing is more like superfluous because you don't need those resources now, but you are trying to build in those resources for when things go wrong. So that's why I see most people in finance, they don't like when you start discussing you want to use money for resiliency or build redundancy within your supply chain. In time past, they'll tell you they are wasting money, but in the new and modern era, because we are living in a world of VUGAD with the disruption and the interactions we're having almost every now and then, even in Nigeria, if you are in the agro sector, you see that the market has been bastardized. So you need to be ready. If not, you'll be kicked out of the market. So the question I'm asking is, your team and organization ready? Do they have resilience wired into their DNA? Okay, 6 strategies for supply chain resilience. Okay, multi-sourcing, because the guys in procurement will tell you that economy of scales, if you give all your volumes to one vendor, they'll give better price. But you have to have this at the back of your mind that if there's a breakdown with that vendor tomorrow, it's going to have impact on your supply chain. So you need to diversify your risk and get maybe 2 or 3 partners. Nearshoring. This is a new concept now in supply chain. There's a move away from globalization. Everybody wants to be in China. You see Donald Trump, he said, bring those stuff to America. COVID have also taught people lesson that you cannot put all your capacity in China. So people are trying to see, even though I'm buying these things from nearshore, it's more expensive than what I'm getting from China, there's a backup plan, because when COVID came, a lot of people were caught off guard. So I talked about standardization before. That's a plant harmonization, TEPS, then ecosystem partnership, how you build ecosystems and collaborate with partners so that they can support you when you're in your times of need. Then inventory and capacity buffers. So try and build inventories and excess capacity, just in case capacity, just in case inventory. Before now, they talk about just-in-time inventory because that was the school of thought. Let's go lean. Okay, but no, we talk now just in case. Build capacity to manage growth, to manage surprises. Then manufacturing network diversification as well. Okay, I'll discuss this, so I'll slip this. You can read when I share the slide. So what are the benefits of having a resilient supply chain? So when you have a resilient supply chain, at the end of the day, you're going to have more efficient operations. Okay, because there'll be no downtime, basically. If there's a stoppage, you have a backup solution. There's also improved productivity. That's improving. That's why you spend more money. You have improved productivity. Then you're also able to mitigate and sometimes prevent risk. Okay, as we are rounding up, I just wanted to share this with the team. There are a lot of lessons to learn from the Noah's Ark. You can take this kind of mindset into your supply chain. When Noah was told, that's the forecast prediction, that the day of doom is going to come. I tell you now that maybe tomorrow there will be a bomb blast in your company. Some people will say, God forbid. But in your contingency meeting, you have to look at every possible scenario and plan for it. In the days of Noah, people were making jest of Noah. But when the flood came and the rain came, you know what happened. So, gents, ladies and gentlemen, it was not raining when Noah built his ark. I don't know if you have built your own ark in your supply chain. So as I round up, I want to leave you with some of these parting shots, basically. You need to build a resilience culture in your supply chain. Investing in resiliency and continuing today will pay off as the next crisis inevitably emerges. Okay? So, and you need to have this end game in mind, what we call the anti-fragility state. Okay? If something goes wrong with your supply chain, how is it going to impact on your value? What's your coping mechanisms? I'm going to leave with this slide, as this is my last slide, basically. Okay? Fragile state suffer a relative loss due to uncertainty. Resilient stage, we stand with no relative loss due to uncertainty when things go wrong. But the end game will be for you to move your supply chain to what we call the anti-fragile state, whereby when something happens to your supply chain, you take it and change it into an opportunity and a competitive advantage. I want to thank you all for your time and thank Rome Business School once again for the opportunity. And I hope you all have learned one or few things. So I will leave the floor open now for questions or contributions. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Ini, we can't hear you, sir. No, I can't hear you. It's still muted. It's not muted, but we can't hear you.
Ini
I can't.
Akpabio, it looks like Ini Akpabio need to build resilience in his network.
All right, while he's still trying to, no, maybe you should try using your earpiece.
Okay. Just to practice what we are teaching. If it's not working, any students can raise up his hand and maybe peace, it become a backup plan. So that's the topic we are doing, resilience. Things will always go wrong. We need to have a backup plan.
Yeah. All right, so I'll be calling on Irene, but please, you just have 2 minutes for your question. 2 minutes, 1 minute for your question. So please be fast. Irene, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Hello, Irene, are you there? If Eileen, can you hear us?
Can I be heard? I don't know if I.
Nedima, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hi, good afternoon. Hi, Sylvester. Good afternoon. This is Nene from GCL, all the way.
Nene,
hello.
Good to meet you, Nene. How are you?
I'm doing so well, thank you. It was a fantastic delivery. I guess maybe I missed out one or two things when you were talking about building redundancies into the plan. Is it possible you maybe you remind me what you said there? Forgive me.
Okay. I will explain redundancy to you. Okay. Redundancy simply means, when you measure redundancy, so when your finance director hears about redundancy, he doesn't like it because it's like wasting money. So redundancy, I will try to keep it very simple. It's like you buying 10 bags of rice and put in your house because there will be scarcity of bags in the next 1 year. Like what happened in the days of Egypt. That's redundancy basically. Because you're tying down money, you're tying down cash. But if there is scarcity of rice later, people will not have rice, but you have rice. And you keep servicing your customers. So that's the whole concept of redundancy. I don't know if that works for you. Hello? Hello? Did you get that? Hello?
I think he has gone off the call.
Okay, no problem. So let me explain redundancy again. Take, for example, there's something happening at the port now. They call it Odogu. Okay. There are some companies, when this Odogu started, I don't want to mention the name of the company, but I checked one of my colleagues, say they are not bothered. You know why they are not bothered? They have more than enough inventory they have built into their systems. So imagine Ogudogun is delaying you clearing things from the port, although the government has revised the decision now for more than 1 month, 2 months. But because you have enough inventory that you have built already to manage the disruption, you keep servicing your customers. So that's what redundancy means, basically. I hope it's clear.
Hello, can I be heard, please?
Yeah, I believe
Yeah,
it's clear for.
yeah. Welcome back, Ini.
Thank you.
You just demonstrated why we needed this class, because in your absence, our backup plan was peace. So that's the essence of the class.
Exactly.
Our redundant plan was peace. If Akpabio is not there, the peace is available, and the class went on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. Okay, so we have hands raised. I have a lot of questions anyway. However, I'll allow these people to, the attendees to. So I have one Irene here. Irene, please. Would you unmute yourself and speak? Irene. Can I be heard, please?
Loud and clear, we can hear you.
Okay, so I see hands raised.
Okay.
Okay, Chiamaka, you may need to unmute them as I call the names one after the other. I'm not able to unmute from here. Okay. Would you help with that, Chiamaka, please? Irene, I can't unmute anybody. I don't have that power.
I unmuted. She's not saying anything. So we can take Olayinka. Olayinka, can you just...
Okay, Olayinka, please. Okay, so while we wait for Olayinka to unmute his or her mic, I have about 10 questions, but 3 are very critical. I think you've answered some of the other 7 in the course of your presentation. Okay, so Doc, I'd like to ask.
Go ahead.
In adopting technology, all right, you've talked about adopting technology to ensure that you were able to run your supply chain smoothly. You know, it's very difficult for, now let me not say it's very difficult, it's pretty somehow tricky for a lot of people to quickly adopt technology. I mean, users, difficult persons to deal with when it comes to picking up a new technology to run with. So they're always like, oh, I'm used to this tool, I don't want to move to that tool, you know, things like that. So a lot's happening during that time frame of trying to move from one technology to another or trying to adopt a technology. What are those challenges you faced in a case like this?
I don't know. I'm struggling to hear you. I don't know if it's my network, but am I the only one struggling to hear Ini Akpabio?
Can any other person hear me, please? I hope it's not mine.
Yes, I can hear you.
No,
okay, so Doc,
I can't hear
it's yours this time around, so it's not mine.
Okay, go ahead. But if I get the gist, I get the gist, you are trying to talk about change management and trying to see how you can motivate people to adopt technology.
Excellent.
Is that the question?
Excellent. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. The thing about change management, basically, for people also in human resource management, will tell you, it's a science and it's also a process, okay? You have to more like use the carrots and stick approach. Then first and foremost, the one that is easier for you to implement is try to work with people's hearts. When I mean work with people's hearts, in any change management process, even though it's coming from top down, but you need to involve the people, let them get buying into what you are trying to sell. And then let them also see the inherent benefit in what that change will drive. Then you also have to put some you have to put some checks in place to actually check. Hold on. To actually check whether people.
This is the first time.
Hello. Sorry, I mute this guy.
Who is there?
Okay.
Who is there?
Okay. Sorry, you're Hi. Sorry. You also have to put some check in place for people for you to see whether people are actually using the new technology. Then the last one I think was like magic is reward system. I remember then in one of my company when we move into the new system, they put a target in place that the first person that will clock so and so man hours we get 25,000 naira. Everybody was dragging. Oh my God! So everybody was dragging for it to ensure they get the 25,000 naira. So these are some of the things you can put in place to gradually move people into the new way of working. So,
thank you very much, Doctor, for that. That was really spot on, right? I'm going to there's a feedback coming from somewhere.
They need to mute some people, please.
Okay. Okay, are there questions, please? We could put the questions in the chat box and have them read out.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Adebolu Adamilare.
Okay.
So my question goes on having resilience in the system. First, the example the presenter gave in terms of buying 10 bags of rice and keep, and then when the prices go up and you have surplus, you still maintain your customers, still able to service your customers. So I still want to go that route in saying sometimes it actually happened, not even sometimes. There was a time that I think late last year, early this year, we had rice for about 87,000 naira. So I bought about 3 bags then. So now all of a sudden it went down drastically to around 50-something thousand. So in that case now, so in a way, when you're saying the financial controllers don't really like hearing that, they can also be right in that sense. In the sense that sometimes you tie money down and, for example, buying 10 bags and the price crashes, or in the case of maybe people, even petroleum products, when some petrol stations have petrol in their tanks, and then all of a sudden the price crashes. So in that aspect now, that resilience now is now becoming like a burden or a negative. How do one approach that? And that's one. Secondly, as a project manager, I'm not at that level. I'm not at that. I'm a senior. I'm a mid-level management. I'm in the mid-level management role in my company. I'm not at that management role where decisions are taken, where the FCs are there. So when the FCs are there and they don't buy your idea of this resilience in the system, and they take the decision at that level, and you have no say, what can be done? Those are my two questions.
I will start with my second question. Okay, the fact that you're not at that level does not mean that you cannot raise what we call an early warning signal. And when you raise your early warning signal, you do it with data. So if you have data consistently showing, they say in God we trust, others must use data. Now in time past, we've done our budget very tight, and this thing went wrong, and this happened. And you show to them with facts, with numbers, how that thing impacted on the project, how you spend more money. I can tell your managing director will approve it straight away. Okay? So it's how you pitch your story, how you put all your thoughts together and present to management, the management will approve. Okay, that's for the first question. The second question. For the first question is, nobody has a crystal ball. So that's why we talk about trade-offs. Sometimes they tell you high risk, high reward, okay? But what's certain is if you have what we call an alert management system, you look at indicators. Do you know why most multinationals they put out of Nigeria during this Tinubu government? They run all their numbers for the next 4 years. Nigeria is going to be quite very turbulent, and that's why I see most of them shut down and wind down some of their business. So based on what the alert management system is telling you, you make a call, okay? If the price starts going in the right direction, you can also sell it off. It's just like stock market. You put a threshold that at this particular level I sell off. So you need, it's a never-ending game, you understand me? But what you cannot do is to say like what they did in the days of Noah, that the rain will not come, disruption will not come, because the word I've learned, I've shown you the curve. It's yo everywhere. In the new world order. So we have to be prepared for the unexpected. If not, you'll be caught off guard. I hope that answers your question.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you very much, Doc, for that. I move on to Olayinka. Is Olayinka ready now? You want to mute yourself, Olayinka?
Yes, I'm ready.
Please go on.
So thank you for the presentation. So my question comes in two folds as well. The first question will be, from everything you've said, it boils down on plan B, plan C. The major thing that is confusing is, do we have to get to plan Z to have that certainty in the midst of uncertainty? That is the first question. Then the second one, just like the last colleague that asked a question, I can give you a practical example. 2 days ago, I had low fuel inside my car. So I stopped at a filling station that is connected to Dangote refinery. Then I bought my fuel at, I think, 995 naira out thereabouts in Abuja. And 24 hours later, I don't think it's up to 24 hours later. I think I was just driving home and I saw the news flash that Dangote has reduced down to 820 from the depot. For me, when it comes to making sure that I have enough supply, that is a loss. Because the next day I saw a drop of about 50 or 60 naira. So with the rates we are going in Nigeria, how do you predict these key economic indicators as individuals, as executives in institutions? What are the basics that you use to predict these key economic indicators to help your finances? Thank you.
Okay, I will start with the second question. In the current what I'll call Tinubunomics, you track it every hour, not even every day or every week. You see, as the price of fuel have changed now, you react because the volatility in the system is quite very high. Although on the FS side it has stabilized, but that's the reality. That's why you see for the food that go to market, when you go to supermarket, the price you saw last week is not what you see this week. So you keep readjusting what we call your replacement cost on it as it moves. If not, you'll be out of business or you'll be out of market or out of competition. So that's what I would say. It's not a very good way to operate, and that's why you see most multinationals don't want to come into Nigeria. It's quite turbulent at the moment. Then the second question, the first question was talking about what? Can you remind me the first question again? Was talking about
Plan
A, plan B, plan C.
Do you know that a plan is enough?
Okay, that is, because this is my area, that's what we call scenario planning. So when you are doing your scenario planning, you have to look at all the options. And at the end of the day, what is the most optimal level that you think? So it's a function of your risk appetite. So for some people, they want to build in so much redundancy just to be sure nothing goes wrong. But some say, let's say at midpoint level. Some say, okay, let's do nothing. I can live with that risk. I have other portfolios that will cover for me. So there is no one car fits all approach. So you have to look at your business peculiarity. You have to look at your portfolio. Then for some people, they will say, let's focus on our key products only. Take, for example, some of the companies that I work with, when the election is coming, sometimes we increase stock with our distributors. Maybe say we want to hold more in Lagos because Lagos is quite very key. In case there's election, after 1 month, Nigeria is not Nigeria, but we still want to continue selling. So you can also prioritize what's my cash cow, what's bringing more profit. So, but you have to look at the numbers. look at the numbers, then depends on your place within the chain. These decisions have to take at the management level, at the director's level, to see what's the best approach for the company. Okay, even your personal life, I will recommend you run with scenarios. And some people don't want to think dark. Sometimes they'll tell you that the people that have more luck in this world are people that think dark, because they've thought of all the possible outcomes, all the possible event situations, and they have contingency plan for each. As things just happen like this, you just trigger your plan. So what they will say for planners is that nothing happens to a planner by surprise. It's not as if they have a crystal ball. It's just that they have done all the dirty work while the rest of us was sleeping.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc, for answering that. I hope that was aptly captured. We'll go on to Godwin Salako, please. Godwin Salako.
Hello.
Yes, please. Godwin Salako, you may unmute yourself now and speak.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello,
Please
can
go
you hear
on.
me, please?
Yes, please go on. Godwin Salako, are you speaking? Is it my network or yours?
Yeah, I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Very clearly, please go on. You have the mic.
Okay. So when the tutor started, he made mention about how the supply chain is something that companies prioritize, like something they always look into. But I think along the course of the class, he also made mention about issues of COVID-19, 9/11, which now brings in institutions like government organizations as well. So my question in this case is, following through the class, he stated that in several situations, organizations, businesses, companies try to foresee these supply chain disruptors, or like different the VUCA basically, and then they try to prepare ahead. And then, because they realize that when this happens, it leads to things like inflation and the like. So my question is, in a country like Nigeria, a developing country like Nigeria, should we say that these factors are usually unforeseen? Because it's mostly like when the inflation gets to the peak and everybody start feeling it, it's always as if that is when government and businesses start taking action. So I just want to be cleared from the perspective of a professional that is that what kind of, in a country like Nigeria, what has been like the instance so far compared to
Yes.
countries where we've had issues like COVID and the likes?
Okay, Nigeria is quite very volatile. Ask anybody in the business space. Ports, the tariffs keep changing. Government comes with new regulation. Tinubu is changing the insurance regime. Nigeria is quite very volatile. Then, it's not as if companies don't know. Some companies know. Just like I mentioned in the days of Noah, you can decide to do nothing about it. Why? Because we don't want to waste money. Because when I was managing crisis management in my former company, because having a plan is not enough just to mention to everybody. You also have to test the plan. So if, for example, you say, if this happened, I will do a road freight from Nigeria to Cameroon. If you have not tested it, when the tire hits the road, you may be at the middle of the road, you realize that there's a hole, there's a very bad road you cannot pass. So you also have to test the plan. And that all those things cost money. So for some companies, deliberately, when they know that something is going to go wrong, because they say they don't want to waste money, they do nothing. So it's not as if they are not aware of some of these indicators. But what we are saying basically is that we need to have plans that are tested in place, that when things go wrong, you can easily fall to your backup plan. I hope that is clear for you. Then it also depends on the organizations. Organizations differ. For most global organizations, they have more intelligence on Nigeria more than you that is in Nigeria. I can tell you for free from my little experience. They can tell you what's going to happen in 2027 because they have and you buy all those data. It's not for free. So there are some companies you can buy data from. They give you all of those data. Then you see how you plan your supply chains and your company basically.
All right, so I hope that question was answered satisfactorily.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you very much. So we'll go speak with Lars Anikwe, please. Lars, you may unmute yourself and speak, please. I'll take some questions in the chat box as soon as Lars is done with this. Lars, are you there? You want to speak? You have the mic.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen.
You may speak up, please. Your voice is quite faint.
Can you hear me?
Very clearly, please go on.
Yeah, I say good afternoon, and I want to appreciate our uncle for a very well-deserved presentation. Mine is not just a question, just for a little contribution based on the practical approach to supply chain on the oil and gas sector. You know, just to buttress some of the things you have said, that the disruptive management tailored to oil and gas in the context of why resilience matters in oil and gas, because of the complex nature and capital intensive of moving most of the critical items, especially in the LNG sectors, exchangers, compressors, and subsea. So I'll give you an example. We have some disruptions in the initial phase of the project where we came for port congestion in Far East in the Asia continent. So what happened is that we had a heavy lift vessel for LNG loading arms that was delayed in Asia, and the resilience approach that was adopted has to do where we're able to activate a standby charter, resequence the installation schedule, and expedite an alternative supplier from the Middle East, hereby maintaining a flow of fabrications and work on site, and maintaining direct clearance communication with the port authorities within the Asia and here in Nigeria. And the closing point there is that just what I want to buttress, the resilience is built before the disruption. So you have to have that resilient approach and planning before you could anticipate that through visibility, partnership, and planning, empowerment and buffer and alignment. When disruption hits, these foundations let you act fast, minimize downtime, and protect project timelines. What I've just given is what I've practically handled real time in a $4 billion multi LNG project, which is quite ongoing right now. So that's my little contribution towards that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lars. That was quite insightful. Actually, I can say I learned something, two things actually from your contribution. Quite insightful. Thank you very much, Lars. Okay, so we'll move on to taking some questions. I'm looking through for some questions. Please just permit me to scan through. Okay, so there's a question from Ikin Iruebu. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So how can one become AI-proofed and shown up in logistics and supply chain management in that one will remain relevant and tech experts and advanced in LSCM? I hope you got that question, Doc.
Yes, it say how can one be more relevant with respect to AI? For everybody in the class, AI has come to stay, but I don't also think that AI will displace man. Hitherto before now, we had Industry 4.0, but what is being discussed now is Industry 5.0, where man will be at the center of technology, intermingling with technology, driving efficiency and productivity. So man is still quite very relevant. But what we need to do is we need to go back to school. I believe in 3L, lifelong learning. So we need to start acquiring digital skills, upskill, and see how we fit into the future. So that's what I would say for that, basically.
All right, thank you, Doc. I'll take another one very quickly from Ngozi Onyawuna. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. So in the face of volatile fuel prices, regulatory changes, and global logistics disruptions, how can the aviation industry redesign its supply chain to ensure uninterrupted maintenance, repairs, and overhaul MRO operations while minimizing costs and environmental impacts?
Okay, I didn't get that, but it's talking about aviation. Can you just summarize for me so I understand the question?
Yes, so she's asking, in doing business in the aviation sector,
sure.
how would they be able to do business and then reduce the impact on the environment, all right, and then of course still make profit. So that's the summary.
Yes, if you look at circular supply chain, basically, if you follow the tenets of circular supply chain, we call it 3B, triple bottom line. Okay, it's a vital circle because if you don't protect the environment and we start having climate issues, we start having agricultural issues, it will lead to poor productivity in the farms. People will fall sick. You will not have anybody to fly those airlines. So it's important for organizations to key into eco-living and sustainable practices, okay? At their trips, as individuals, not even the aviation, it involves me and you, it involves companies. It's something we all have to look together as a society. Then in terms of maintenance, basically, like I mentioned earlier on, it's not as if they don't have a proper maintenance regime, but oftentimes it comes to the P&L. So that's where trade-offs comes on board. Sometimes people are willing to compromise to buy the right equipment, to do the proper maintenance, just manage it. That's why you have a couple of issues with the aviation industry in Nigeria. So what I will call for is for regulators to come up to the party and do their job and see how they can put compliance and controls in place to ensure that people are there to lay down standards with respect to SDG, sustainability goals, follow regulation with respect to greenhouse gases, and best practice with respect to circular supply chain. So it's a clarion call to all and sundry, not just only the aviation lines. Circular supply chain is for everybody. It's actually a way of life, both government, people, and industry and corporate society.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. I hope that was answered. I'll move on to taking another question from Shotubo Michael. He says, my question is, how do we build resilience into Nigerian agricultural supply chain, knowing fully well that the supply chain is not organized like in some other countries?
Yes, this is hot potato because what's happening in the agricultural supply chain is a disaster. Farmers farmed last year, middlemen brought commodities, and the government brought in.
Here. I will call on my colleagues.
So the government brought in food to try to drop the price of food. But at the same time, there's a problem with the equation of the pricing within the supply chain. So what I will say here is people need to engage more with relevant stakeholders because these things that happen with the government did not come from the sky. When I had a meeting with the chairman of Nigeria Community Exchange sometime middle of last year, this plan was in the works, but people did not take government serious. The government said they were bringing rice. The government said they were bringing maize, but they thought that it was like any other Nigerian policy. People stockpile on the old price. When the government started releasing their product now, the market is in a turmoil. So I would say people need to learn to anticipate this kind of change and see how they manage optimal risk within their supply chain. So that's what has happened basically. People did not listen to what the government was saying.
Okay, thank you very much, Doc. Is there a hand up? Yes, there are. I still have Irene. Is he an hold hand you raised, or he wants to speak again? Irene and Lars. Okay, let's take a new hand, please. Mrs. Ekaisomi.
Ekaisomi, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, I want to come through for what Prof just said, but I think that we don't have price regulations, and most of the things comes out of the blue. I'm a farmer. That's a part of my business, and I got chickens 40-something thousand. Now, over the years, we buy a truck of feed for 3.5 million. Now, my chickens just started coming up. Everybody was excited like the normal way. And the government closed the borders 2 years ago.
Yes.
We couldn't feed our chickens. Now, that chicken that was taking 3.5 million today is taking 21 million. We don't
Yes.
have price. We don't
Yes.
have price regulation. Do you know what it ended up doing? We lost.
Yes.
All our I follow. I'm in I'm a pan this in group in Lagos.
Yes.
I'm in a lot of poultry association and all that, and crop association. There was nothing. From nowhere, the borders were shut.
Yes.
It was like a time bomb.
Yes. The issue there.
Let me go ahead. I'm talking out of experience. Now, a lot of people bowed out. I was grateful to God to still keep me standing. I went back again to start again from the scratch. Now, for the past, what we normally do in poultry farming, for you to sustain your poultry farm in Nigeria, you buy feed ahead, just like what the guy talked about, the 3 bags of rice.
Yes.
So before we wake up every morning with increments in feed, sometimes every 3 days, sometimes every week, sometimes once in a month. All of a sudden, we have learned how to be throwing money into that place. You could imagine, for instance, putting almost 50 million naira, just stacking it down to buy feed because we have no price regulation. Then all of a sudden, they woke up again and start telling you that, what do they call it? Feed price, chicken price, feed prices start coming down. And all of a sudden, they just removed almost 2,000 naira for a bag of feed. You that have money with them, you have lost. So when you're talking about buying data in Nigeria, when you're talking about buying data, then you want to go into pullets. The people that had pullets, when those things were going on, a lot of people closed their industry. I was talking to the one of the doctors yesterday, and he said a lot of people today, now you are looking for chicken in Nigeria, you will not get till November, because a lot of people are bowed out because of such kind of things. Things will go up when you don't have price regulation. When you want to put things, you want to make things at your own convenience. And inconvenient the little that the SMEs that are trying to sustain the economy. So it's a pathetic situation. I woke up yesterday or 2 days ago, so knowing that I've lost so much because I have committed money. At the past, when they increased, it was sweet. You know that you say, oh, thank God my money is there. But now, when the money starts coming down, it's like we're counting our loss. That does not mean that it's equivalent to what we are selling the eggs. When we're buying truck of feed for 3.5 million, we're selling egg at the rate of 2,500. Now, a truck of feed is 21 million. We're selling egg at the rate of 5 million. Can you see the difference? From 3.5 million to 21 million. And you're selling at 5. So the ratio is terrible. I want to know the company you also talked about, that you said that they have data, they can sell data, but are they really accurate? Is it some sectors or all sectors? Now, this is not just this sector. We're talking about even when it comes to crop tomatoes, cobra, we're buying cobra at the rate of 45,000. Today, cobra is 145,000. Is it habanero? Is it other crops that you want to talk about? Is it about the fertilizers? Even as I'm talking to you in Nigeria today, there's no NPK.
Yes, I mentioned earlier on, I feel you. I'm very close to this sector as well. I understand what's happening around the sector. I don't want to criticize government policies. I don't understand their thinking, but some of the policies in the short term are quite very painful, and some of them are not so coherent. But I will leave it at that, okay, basically. But like I said, for Nigeria as it is, it's a daily battle. As the things are happening, you are trying to see if your plans that you did yesterday are still okay, fine-tune, and you see how you adjust. And a lot of companies have also looked inwards internally, how they can chase efficiency. You can see for most of the local companies, they are coming back with profits half year. Most of the Unilevers, Guinness, last year they made loss, but they went with their resilience. Some of their sides, seeing how they can source things internally. Flour mill, they have a lot of wheat they planted in certain parts of Nigeria just to try and mitigate the impact of the FS situation. And I'm sure, madam, you have also looked at your formulation. Probably you're also doing local milling. You're not buying feed from the company like before. You're trying to see how you can stay afloat.
No, I've not yet done that because to do that, it takes a lot of finance. When you have lost so much, do you understand? Another thing again about Nigeria, you have what theory will I put it? They will discourage you for you to even produce feed on your own. Oh, you don't know how they discourage us. Oh, just leave it for the feed producers and all that. Don't bother those things because you might do this, you might do that, you might do that. After discouraging us, this is what we ended up with. Those farms that did not listen, that went ahead, do you understand? They have materials. They always have materials done. So when we are increasing egg, they're not increasing egg, they're standing until their materials get finished. Because like you said, we should look at all sides, plan A, plan B, plan C.
Sure.
Yes, that plan A, plan B, when you have strong voices telling you, don't just bother, and sometimes you just, okay, let me just listen. But sometimes it's good to be radical, not to listen to anything. So when you fail, you don't know it was my choice. And when you succeed, it was my choice too. So such kind of thing, yeah.
But what I also advise, sometimes when you run companies like this, you can have just for retainership, not on your payroll, but an advisor that can run numbers for you and guide you. It show you all the pros and cons. When I mean pros and cons, if you go this direction, this is what will happen. If you go this direction, then you take a calculated risk and then make a call. So that's where I will park that, madam. And sorry for your losses.
Thank you so much, but I pray that works in Nigeria because you wake up every morning with new every day new methods from the government.
In that industry, in the agricultural industry, there's lots going on there.
So the truth about it, now that bringing GMOs and all that, so many things. So you just want to look them and see what is going on.
And that's the main reason for all those changes we are seeing, those policies and all those laws. I know we can't get into details, but
yes, I can't. I don't go into details either.
Yeah, all these things are agendaed as long as I'm concerned. That's why you are facing what you are facing. Otherwise, it is just agendaed, unfortunately.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks for the insight. I like practical classes. At least we are sharing knowledge and we are also taking learnings. Sometimes lessons learned are very important. I'm sure, madam, with this experience, you can become a professor to somebody else tomorrow. You consult for the person.
I'm telling you.
If you go in this direction, you get your hands burnt. So no experience is a loss in itself. I can tell you for free.
It's a serious learning. It was an expensive education I paid for. Very expensive. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Thank you, Doc, for that quite insightful discourse that took place. Do we have any further questions from anybody? I can't see any hands raised. Okay, I want to assume that Doc has done justice to the questions. Okay, so Doc, do you have any? Can I be heard, please?
Yes, yes, yes. I can hear you. I can hear you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I would like
Doc,
to. Yes, go ahead.
Do you have any closing remarks from your end?
Yes,
yeah,
so
we can learn from you quickly.
Yes, from my side, basically, I will tell you from practical experience. Despite all this theory has preached, you need to find very convincing argument to convince your finance director to spend money on contingency plan. And so you also need to go there with a very strong business case. If not, the guy will not approve any money for you, even your managing director. So often they don't like, they see it as wasted money. But when things go wrong, they come back to come and blame you in supply chain. So it's just for you to do your proper risk mapping, know the vulnerabilities you have in your supply chain, do your priority rating, and then make your recommendation to the business. So I think on that note, I will encourage everybody to go back to your supply chain and look at that last slide, that it was not raining when Noah built his ark. So that will be my parting words. And thanks for your time, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Doc. Okay, so I'll yield the mic to Mr. Idowu Adeleke, who's going to be talking to us about Rome Business School Nigeria programs. Mr. Adeleke, please.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I would first of all like to start with a note of appreciation to our keynote speaker, Dr. Sylvester, today. It's been a very insightful and an educative section. Also to Mr. Akpabio, thank you for moderating the section. You're able to moderate and then get all the questions, even those that were on the chat box. My name is Idowu Adeleke. I work in the admissions department of Rome Business School. So I've been here to give some basic information about the institution. We all know Rome Business School is a managerial training institution with the main campus in Rome, Italy, and Nigeria happens to be a location of one of the satellite campuses. Currently, we offer 18 master's programs that cuts across different areas of management. Now, for the students on this call, emails have gone out for those that enrolled within the month of April to June and the first 2 weeks in July. Emails have gone out for you to join the different WhatsApp group for October 2025 cohorts. Emails have also gone out for you to have access to your student portal. That is the VLE, the virtual learning environment. That's a personalized student portal. So it's also very important you confirm the receipt of this email, and you're also prepared because there'll be a VLE workshop next week, precisely on the 22nd of August, 2025. Now, the next event in the series of the Business Leadership Development Program is the PMI Membership Workshop, which will be on the 20th of August. Okay, it's also going to be a very insightful one whereby you'll be learning about the benefits of the PMI membership that we have. Now, for the prospects on this call, what you've just experienced from this section is just the tip of the iceberg. This is how educative and insightful and engaging the classes are. Okay, so it is a very good opportunity for you to reach out to your admission advisor, get further guidance, revisit, reinitiate the conversation on your admission process, and get it concluded. August is a unique month here at Rome Business School because it is officially the very last month of the enrollment process for the October 2025 intake. Applications are also going to be processed in September for the October 2025 intake. But for the better part of September, it's going to be considered as late registration. So you want to take advantage of what is available now and then key into the program and then the path of the October 2025 intake. So I look forward to prospects on this call, joining the different master's programs that we have, and then also getting the benefits from it. It's a pleasure to have you all here. Thank you very much again for your time. and do well to enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right, thank you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Adeleke. We'll go on to Sandra, who's going to be giving us speaking on behalf of our Dean, Professor Ragusa. Sandra, please. The mic is yours.
Hello. Good evening, all.
Good evening, Sandra.
Good evening.
Let me know you can hear me.
Very clearly, please go.
Yeah, we can hear you. Loud and clear.
All right. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate everyone here that is here present. I want to also appreciate our students for making out time to be here. First of all, I have to appreciate our speaker, Mr. Sylvester. Thank you very much for making our time to speak to us. It was a pleasure having you here, sir. And also, I want to appreciate our dear moderator, Mr. Ini. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for moderating this section. Okay, for our dear students, I want to also remind you that for you to be privileged to have a copy of the recorded section, please do well to fill the attendance survey so that you can get a copy of this survey once it is out. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and also ensure to follow dear speaker, Mr. Sylvester, on LinkedIn, and also our moderator via LinkedIn. All right. Thank you so much. Do have a lovely day. God bless.
You too. Bye.